Now shown here is an example of a cabriole leg for a dining chair, and this is the cabriole leg for a plant stand that we're now building. Now at first glance it might appear a bit intimidating or daunting actually making one of these legs, but with any problem, just simplify it, don't complicate it, simplify it. Now the first thing we have to do is create a template. Now another interesting thing is that when you look at this you think we probably need more than one template. You don't. You just need one template does all. Now I found this one from a magazine, and I estimated the length and the various widths, and then made a drawing and then cut this piece of hardboard to represent the template. I've clamped it to, so we get, you want to leave this face here. This is a face for the apron and another one down here. So I've left these both, these are not going to be cut, so they'll be left as is to give a good basis for the rail or apron, whichever you want to call it. Now, the width required for these is approximately 2 1/8 inches, and I don't have 3-inch cherry in stock, so I'm going to laminate 3 pieces. Now it's good to get a good match of the grain and colour before you start. And now another point here is I always make these, when I'm doing something like this, I always make these the same width. Now there's 2 reasons for that. First of all, when you glue the pieces and you try and clamp them, they'll tend to skew like that, and it's very difficult to get them to remain in the position. So what I do is I use 2 backing pads like this, one at the top and then another one at the bottom, and you lightly clamp these before you begin your main clamping procedures, and that keeps everything nice and trim and fair here. And it's also important when it's cured and you want to trim it on the table saw. The fact that these are nice and fair eases that problem, and you can cut it in the table saw truly. You also want to make sure you mill these mating surfaces, plane these mating surfaces. Just keep taking a skim off at a time and trying it until you get a really good finish. Now the next thing to do is mark the profile. And as you see, I've clamped it here to make sure this doesn't move, and then you just mark your profile. Just keep it about a 32nd or 30th outside the surface of the template, and then take it off and reclamp it to this side. Make sure you get the two joining faces together. So you just take that around and rotate it 180 degrees, and you've got the profile again, and then just draw that, and again keep to a 32nd outside the edge. Now at that point in time, you don't want to be cutting your lengths after you've cut the profile. You would have great difficulty doing that, getting them all the same. So what I do is I use again my sled in conjunction with my fence. This length of this is 27.5, so I put the fence to 28.5 and use this 1 inch spacer here, and then bring your 3x3 up against that. Now always bring your fence back to exactly the same position on your bed plate. Then always remove your inch spacer before making your final cut. Now the next step is the crucial one, is the cutting it in a bandsaw. Now what I do here is, you've got this is only a small section here, so it's not too important, but I begin with this one here, And the thing about this, you want to keep it absolutely stable when you're cutting in the bandsaw. You don't want to be using it, trying to cut it square when it's got all this curvature. So you want to maintain this solid ground for your bandsaw. So what I do here is, this is cut off, of course, cut down here, and it's 32nd from your line, and come down, and then come to about approximately the centre here, and leave about 3/8 to half an inch still attached there. Go to the other end and begin cutting the same way back, and again leave you know, some small section of wood remaining to keep it stable. Then turn it around and then do the same thing with the other one. Begin here, come up to there, leave it 3/8 to half an inch, and then come here and do the same thing here. Again, 30 thou from the edge. Then you can cut these two off, still keeping the thing perfectly stable, and do the same on the other side here. Now, after you've finished, you'll find some rough edges, so I just trim these with a small plane. Now, then I do something a bit unorthodox. I fit the belt sander into the vise, and I use that to trim the surfaces, and then I finish it off by hand, getting down to 220 grit sandpaper.